How do you view the United Nations? It's meant to be, of course, a place that brings all nations of the world together in order to secure peace throughout the world. Is that indeed what it's doing? Well, let's hear from a mother whose child was kidnapped October 7th, and hear what she has to say, together with some representative from UNRWA has to say. Let's hear, and on the flip side, let's talk about it.
I asked the United Nations, where is my son?
The repeated call by the President of the United States for the complete expulsion of the people of Palestine and Gaza in order to redevelop it as the Riviera in the Middle East is execrable and grossly illegal. I implore all of you to act in defense of the International Criminal Court and UNRWA, which have a key and unique role to play to deal with the ongoing global crises that threaten global peace, accountability, and human rights.
I give the floor to the representative of United Nations Watch.
Mr. Rapporteur, in your report you claim the reputation of UNRWA is under attack. I speak today as a mother. My son Jonathan, 21 years old, was shot on October 7. Then, an UNRWA social worker kidnapped him. Right now, Jonathan is still held by terrorists in Gaza. So, I know what an attack is. An attack is when terrorists, including UNRWA employees like Muhammad Abu Itiwi, enter a music festival and murder innocent young people. An attack is when a UN social worker paid by this organization kidnapped my son into Gaza, a UN employee who took upon himself to do good, yet did evil. No, UNRWA is not under attack. UNRWA is the attacker. An UNRWA teacher held 84 years old Ditsa Heyman captive. Terrorists held Emily Damari captive in an UNRWA building. UNRWA's entire infrastructure helped Hamas kill our children. You talked about human rights. What about Jonathan's rights? What about the hostages still suffering in Gaza right now? Mr. Rapporteur, your report speaks of the death of UNRWA staff. Does this include the UNRWA worker who kidnapped my son Jonathan?
Wow. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, my Rebbe, the Rebbe of so many, spoke about the UN. He spoke actually in 1984 to then Israel ambassador to the UN, maybe Netanyahu. And he spoke to him then and thereafter that you're in a house of lies. But worry not, because you have a candle, the candle of truth. Hold by the candle of truth, and the light of truth will dispel much darkness. Well, we saw clearly some of the lies that were just exposed. That's just some of the lies. But also the Rebbe spoke at Fabrengens about the UN, that the UN is in New York, home of the Chabad network, where the previous Rebbe, the Rebbe, spoke about his father-in-law, where he established the Chabad international movement in New York. So they share, shall we say, the same territory, the same city, and the UN on its as its depiction of what its purpose is, that we shall beat swords into plowshares, which is, of course, a verse from Isaiah. Very laudable. What the UN is meant to be. Absolutely. And we need to hold it up to its purpose to create greater peace in the post-world Second World War, which it was established from the League of Nations and developed into the UN. So we have to hold it up to a high standard because that's what it's meant to be. But at the same time, We have to be very real that the high standard isn't being met at all. On the contrary, you speak about rights. The truth is, we should not be speaking about rights. We should be speaking about obligations. So Hamas has an obligation to lay down their arms. They have an obligation to give back the hostages immediately. They have an obligation to take care of their people if they are the leaders of their people, to make sure that they have food and drink, that they have clothing, that they have a place to live. But they won't do that. They haven't done that in the last 20 years because they don't believe in obligations to others. They just believe in the right of jihad, the right to destroy and eliminate the Jewish people, the state, the land of Israel that the Jewish people live upon. That's their right. They feel their obligation. But that's not what their obligation is. No, their obligation is lay down your arms, take care of your people, or at least the elected proper people should be taking care of them. And since that's not what they're going to do, they're not going to beat their swords into plowshares, then guess what? We will have to destroy them. And there will be collateral damage, like lots of destruction of the buildings, lots of destruction of the infrastructure. And that's a great pity. But we have no choice. We have no choice because we need to do what our obligation is. And our obligation is to protect our loved ones. October 7th happened. We have an obligation not a right, an obligation to protect our loved ones. We have an obligation to protect innocent people, which includes the soldiers in the IDF. And of course, this is what we have an obligation, but the obligation of the Jewish people goes far beyond just protecting our people, protecting innocent people in the land of Israel and anywhere else. But our obligation is to bring goodness and kindness to the world, to bring the word of God as it's written in the Torah and the teachings thereof that empower people to beat their swords into plowshares so we can change the world truly for good. Come and join me. If you enjoyed this, come and join me and hear more of this kind of message of self-empowerment, empowerment where you can have mastery over yourself, where you can fulfill your true purpose, being a part of changing the world for good. Every day, Monday through Friday, Tanya teachings, the heart, the depth and the mystical, Kabbalistic understanding of life in human terms that we can all appreciate. Mondays through Fridays, 9:30 a.m. live. Of course, you can get it throughout the day, but you can also be live on YouTube and many other platforms. I look forward to hearing from you and learning together.